Kane strikes for Manchester City.
Oh yeah, I'm loving it, There's no better feeling than scoring. I just want to keep scoring because that's what I enjoy.
He's inside Arsenal territory and he looks for the return and he's in the left wing position and he's played a good ball and City are 3-1 up. Brilliant finish from Phil Foden.
Good evening and welcome to We're Not Really Here. The games do not stop at the minute and that is just the way we like it. Over 2 months unbeaten and a victory tonight will see us go top of the Premier League table. Plus we also have that man right there, the Manchester lad, the Stockport Iniesta, Phil Foden, in the form of his life. But this fixture back in December against West Brom proved to be a real test. With them in ultimate survival mode right now, it could be a tricky evening in the Midlands as we see our boys in blue arrive at the Hawthorns for this Premier League fixture, taking on West Brom. Kick-off at 8:15. Welcome, my name is Kyle Walker. I'm joined by Shaun and Andy Morrison. Manchester City taking on West Brom. We could see them there arriving at the Hawthorns. Shaun, big game, Big Sam in charge, different manager this time to the game December 15th where it was 1-1. Are we going to see a different West Brom and Man City tonight?
Well, I don't think so. Yes, you got two different managers. Yes, Sam Allardyce, I think, will be Sam Allardyce, He'll make sure they're solid, they're compact, and he'll have their boys at it to try to get a result.
Andy, a huge game for Manchester City, looking to climb to the top of the Premier League for the first time this season. So it's a massive one. And these boys, they know it's thick and fast, all of these fixtures, but they're prepared for it.
Yeah, they're in a great run of form. As you said, it's 10 games, I think, now on the back-to-back wins, and it's an incredible period that they're in. And, they'll turn up, they'll just go through, they'll do what City do. I still think it's going to be a difficult evening because I was here watching the game against West Brom, and I saw how hard it was to break them down. And they've got somebody now who's an expert at absolutely, upsetting games and making it difficult for the opposition. So if we get that early goal, would be really important.
We'll be talking a little bit about that later on. Shaun, just very quickly, I want to ask you, 10 games, 10 victories in all competitions. Did you ever have that when you were here at Man City? Ever go 10 games unbeaten?
I'd have to probably go to Andy because he kept my stats. He always knew. He says, well done, Shaun, you scored tonight. You missed a sitter as well. Listen, this team is now starting to hit the form that we expect. The rotation now, we're seeing 10 players come out, 10 players come in. It's still quality. And I expect to see the quality in terms of creativity and energy, and some goals.
Hopefully there's going to be plenty of goals this evening. Andy, one thing you did just say there is it's going to be a tricky evening. All games are tricky in the Premier League. All these teams are very tough to beat. But also when a team is in survival mode, when a team wants to stay in the Premier League, they've got the extra bit of fight in them, haven't they? And West Brom, they could have that tonight.
Yeah, I think, I think they'll break it down. I think they'll try and get to 20 minutes. That'll be the initial target for them. We found out that when we scored early on in games, we've then become very, very difficult to play against. Teams then have to open out eventually, and we're able to find spaces. They'll be delighted if they can get to 20 minutes without conceding. But listen, we've got to keep just picking the lock, keep going away as we do. Ball retention, keep moving it and just looking for opportunities. But like I say, it's going to be a tough night.
Shaun, how frustrating is that as a striker when a team is set out to stop you from scoring? Every single wave of attack, you just stop you. They're set out to maybe not score many goals up the other end, but they're just wanting to stop you. How frustrating is that when you just want to hit the back of the net?
Well, for me, I'm more an optimist, and each time they make a challenge and they just about get a toe to it to clear it out or make their last ditch challenge, I look at that and I think, perhaps the next one. So I look at it from that point of view. I don't know, Andy being a defender may look at it slightly different, but yeah, I think the boys will be looking forward to this one, and there'll be a few occasions where West Brom will have to put in some last ditch challenges.
And Andy, how difficult is it as a defender when you've got a team that's just coming at you, wave after wave of attack, and you're trying to withstand that pressure?
It's very, very difficult. I've managed in Europe, and the quality of the opposition, and it is relentless. And, you know, I spoke about it the last time I was in, and you're almost playing a dope football where you're waiting for the opposition player to switch off at a moment. And I think, you know, I know how diligent and I know how organised Sam will be, and he's relying on his players for 90 minutes, for one player to switch off, because City will keep moving the ball and they're waiting for somebody just half a second. And that's the hard thing. As the game goes on, with the game going on at 0-0, there's more energy. The team find more energy, and they see an end line. They start with keeping the game, but they see an end line, and then it becomes even, think it becomes even more difficult, and it picks them up the longer the game goes.
It's like Manchester City a tiger waiting to pounce, and as soon as you give them half a second, as soon as you give them a little mistake, they're so fast and they pounce on the opposition team so quickly, and we've seen them do that countless times. So it must be intense as a footballer coming up against this team like City.
Yeah, it is. It's organisation. I don't think it's a great to deal with fitness. I think it's more mental. You've just got to stay in that zone for the whole period of the game, because like I say, they'll keep moving it and wait for somebody to switch off, and it'll be normally a ball on the inside. They'll find out a defender, just switches off, becomes blind to it. But it's a big ask. But you know, I always, of late, the games are reflected how we start, and if we get an early goal, it totally just takes the wind out of them, and they know then that they've got to come back into the game at some stage, which will leave them open.
Now that game back in December the 15th, it ended 1-1. You could say this is a very different Manchester City team in a way right now, because they look different, they're attacking different, they set out different a little bit as well. Plus there's a few injuries and a few players missing. But Shaun, what's the biggest difference you think between this team now and the one that we're seeing against West Brom back in December?
Well, I think what we see now is a team that's, you know, got its rhythm in terms, and when I say rhythm, players from back to front, keeping clean sheets, midfielders being creative, defensive midfielders being protective, offensive players scoring goals, creating chances. I think this is the difference that we'll see tonight as opposed to what we saw back then. Again, the combination of the centre backs is really solid. They go around high-fiving when they make a brilliant challenge or block. It shows the unity and the spirit that they've got as a defence. I'm excited. I think we're in great shape.
We're talking about that centre-back partnership. We'll be able to find out the team news very, very shortly. But that West Brom goal there did come off Ruben Diaz. It must be frustrating for a defender when you're working so hard to protect the goal. They get a shot that hits off your foot and goes in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's you know, first of all, not giving silly free kicks away, which then allow the opposition to put the ball into the box. From a dead ball situation, they can get set up for the second phase. In that goal there, we defended the first phase really well, but because of the bodies in the box, they managed to pick the ball up, put it back in, a little ricochet, and it's an own goal. So we'll have to be very mindful of fouls in wide areas tonight that allows them to then get players in the box, but then also ring it off for the second phase.
There are plenty of fixtures where the game hasn't ended 1-1. Manchester City, against West Brom. I've got a little fact for you guys here, all right? West Brom are winless in the past 18 Premier League meetings, drawing 2 and losing 16 of those games right there. West Brom have only led for 26 minutes and 3 seconds in total during those matches. So this game today, Shaun, do you think it's going to be any similar? City are going to be winning this one as well, make it 21?
I think that'll be the case. And without being disrespectful, Sam Allardyce he wants his players to give their all and stay compact, as Andy was saying. But I just think the quality, the creativity, the movement, you know, players like Phil Foden, if we've been around, Phil Foden, you know, creating danger, the mobility of the wide players. I just think we're going to have too much for them, and I anticipate a few goals tonight.
Hopefully there'll be plenty of goals. When we're looking at Manchester City's form recently, it has been non-stop, as we're saying. FA Cup coming off the back of that one as well. All of these lads, though, they're going to be so ready for it, because this is the business end of the season. Halfway through the Premier League, coming up to it. There's a couple of games in hand as well, but they're going to be looking at that top spot thinking we can take this tonight.
Yeah, it sends a massive statement out as well. I think you'll correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the first time this season that we've actually sat on top? So again, you're setting a statement out there straight away for other teams now to come, and City have shown in the past that they're comfy in that leading position. Some clubs like to come from behind, and see the chase, but we've shown it for seasons now that we're happy in that position, and other teams then have to try and go past us. And the players, you want to be playing. You want to play games, and you want to be in teams that are on the run that we're in. The confidence and the atmosphere in the changing room will be magnificent at the minute. Every player, everybody wants to be in that starting 11, so it keeps it fresh. It's great for the manager because he knows the team he picks tonight that they're going to be looking at that bench, and if they drop their standards, by 5%, then he'll see that and change it. So it's a great position to be in.
Shaun, is there a pressure that comes with being at the top of the Premier League?
There is, but this is Man City. These players understand this. We've got world-class players in our squad, so the players understand the importance of getting to the top, staying at the top, and then kicking on and going on an unbelievable run. I think they're so well aware that winning tonight puts us on top, but then you start to have an eye and you think, well, who do we have next? We could start to create a bit of a gap. So tonight's a big game. The boys will understand that, and they'll be looking to do the business. Right,
let's have a look at how Manchester City do line up this evening, taking on West Brom. We can see the starting lineup. Ederson, Alexander Zinchenko, John Stones, Ruben Diaz, João Cancelo, Ilkay Gundogan, Rodrigo, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling. On the bench, we've got Zach Stefan, Kyle Walker, Gabriel Jesus, Aymeric Laporte, Ferran Torres, Benjamin Mendy, Fernandinho, Eric Garcia, and Adrian Benabe. I want to talk about two players straight away, all right? They've been rock solid at the back, John Stones and Ruben Diaz. Andy, what do you make of these two and their partnership?
Well, they've bonded very quickly, that's for sure. You talk about players coming in and learning the league and then gradually building a relationship up with a player. And but Diaz, he's amazed me, to be of the age he is and has stepped in the way he does. And obviously being at the games and having seen him now at close hand and seeing how vociferous he is in games, I find it amazing for one so young. He leads, he's demanding, and his organisation skills. He's making sure that what happens if the ball breaks down, he's always looking for the danger. So I've been so impressed with him, and I just think John Stones, I said last season that he needs to run a game before we judge him. He must get fit, and he must stay fit. It was just 2 or 3 games out for 6 weeks. No player, talking to somebody who suffered terribly with injuries, and when you actually get that run, you change after 6 months of playing. Your mentality changes. I came back from knee operations, and it took so long to build and go again. John had picked up injuries last year, but I was always thinking, I still think he's the best English centre half. And I think with run of games, which we're seeing now, and we're seeing the player that we knew we had when we bought John Stones from Everton. And it's great to see because they complement each other so well. And there's a bond there, that you want when you centre half. Like strikers want to know who they're playing with. I get that, and they change it. And Shaun would say that you want to build up relationship, but more so at the back. Centre half, I need to know where he is when I'm attacking the ball. I need to know that if I go into areas, he's got my back covered. I need to know what his strengths are, and they have been magnificent.
Right, from Cheltenham to West Brom, we can hear from Pep Guardiola as he shares his thoughts ahead of tonight's game.
Pep, 2 changes for you tonight from your last league game. Is this a big opportunity for players like Phil Foden, Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva to step up with Kevin De Bruyne out for a little while?
Everyone have to make a step up, not just one player. So we decide every lineup, we decide what is the best, and that's all.
The last time you faced West Brom was the last game that City didn't win. They're obviously rather different now, with a different man in charge, a man you call a genius.
Every game is different.
How different are they going to be from the first meeting this season?
I don't know. I don't know. Of course, some are there's a new manager, but I don't know. So I know we try to figure out how the game will be, but at the end we don't know.
You faced Sam Allardyce sides in the past. How have you had to adapt to facing them in the past?
Well, what they do, what he want to do with his teams, it's proper. He do it really well. So try to avoid it, try to defend well, and impose our game.
And if you do win tonight, you go top of the league for the first time this season. Is that a big motivating factor?
No. the motivation has to be to play good and try to win the game. So today I think is the last game for the first leg. So the Premier League, so a lot of games, 1,000 millions competitions, many things can happen. It's try to focus on what you have to do and be ready to do it and try to, with this, try to win the game.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Pep Guardiola sharing his thoughts ahead of tonight's game. Manchester City travelling to the Hawthorns, to West Midlands, to West Brom. And Shaun, one thing about Pep Guardiola is he always says we have to focus on what's in front of us. It's going to be a difficult game tonight. Big Sam's going to set them up in a way we've already talked about. But how nervous do you think Pep will be about that top spot?
I don't think Pep will be nervous because Pep would have done his homework, and he says there he's not sure how the game's going to unfold. I think he's very secure in understanding how the game's going to unfold. He would have looked at West Brom and dissected how they're going to approach this game and look at ways on how City could exploit them. So he'll be very comfortable knowing that he's got his plan as to the boys go there and execute and scoring a few goals.
How true is it as a manager when you say you're just looking at the fixture in front of you, Andy?
For me, absolutely. I think Jurgen Klopp has spoken the same. He can't look past the next game. It's the biggest game of his life. And Pep's certainly that way. Every game seems to be, we'll get through this one. Will he be thinking long term that when the squad is at its strongest of who he could maybe play in a game? But I think your full attention will be on this game tonight, and he won't be looking forward to get through this game, see what injuries we've got, see who's fit, look at the next game, and then plan again.
How difficult is it to plan? Because when you're going from FA Cup to Premier League to all the different competitions and you're changing the squad, rotating it so much, how difficult is that as a manager?
Well, unfortunately for me, I've not found that out yet. We're normally Saturday to Saturday, but I just feel how hard it must be, and it's something that I spoke about in the past. It's not I don't think it's the physical part for players for games. I think it's mentally picking yourself up again from a huge game at the weekend to then come in and train on a Monday and refocus and put your mindset back into that football again. And then, when we're talking about them playing in Europe, you're flying all over Europe, you're playing a game, you fly back, you got another huge game at the weekend. You might then have a game in Europe on the Thursday, and I find it incredible how the players can build themselves up. And I think when managers talk about resting players in modern day, because they're such physical specimens, I think they're alluding more to the mental side of it. He needs to be taken out just to let his mind drift away from football for a bit and then reinvigorate and come again. And I think that's the key. I don't think it's physical. I think it's mentally getting away from football for a period.
2 changes since the last league game, as the reporter said. 10 changes since Saturday. One player that does keep his spot is Phil Foden, but the attacking 4, all right, Shaun, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling. Either of those players could get on the score sheet tonight because we don't know who's going to be through the middle.
No, we don't. And if I was to take a stab at it, I'll probably say Bernardo Silva. Only because he's played him there before. But again, the interchange between the players is so fluid. 1 minute you see Sterling there and Bernardo out wide and Mahrez in the middle, then Mahrez out wide, and it's all with the flowing of the game. Players passing, moving and creating. But again, you're talking about Foden, the one keeping his spot. I really like what I see with Foden. He brings energy. He brings a really wise head. When you see him on the field, he's making decisions, and you think, he's been around, and for someone so young, it's beautiful to watch, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing him play more and more.
So is it natural then the players will kind of interchange? It just happens throughout the game. One player I do want to focus on, Raheem Sterling. Is it just natural for him to drift into the middle, then into the wide positions, and they all just know?
I think they know. I think this has been drilled to them. Even though the game may take Sterling inside, and he'll know, okay, well, the fullback is actually covering out wide, and he'll stay in that pocket. And Bernardo Silva, who was in the pocket, now ends up right up the middle as a striker. And the game sort of flows where they then end up changing again. And I think this is, we never talked about spaces back in the day. The word spaces, when we talk about football, came from Pep. And I think everybody started to, initially was like, what's he talking about spaces? No, this is what he means. It's about a player occupying that space and making the right decision when you're in that space. And so this is why I love City. I love Pep. I love the team. You love the game.
Yeah. And one man that we can hear from, he always manages to find the space. It is Raheem Sterling. Let's hear his pre-match thoughts.
Raheem, you're going for your 11th straight win in all competitions this evening. What's behind that good form, and can you keep it going tonight?
Yeah, I just think it's, with the start that we had, we knew we could do a lot better. And it was just to dig deep as a team and, grind results out. As we could see, it's been a strange season, and, teams across the board have been dropping points, and we just need to keep that momentum going.
If you do win tonight, you go top of the league for the first time this season. Does that put a bit of a marker down to the rest of your title rivals?
I'd say, I think it's the known that it's still a long way to go in the season, and, we just need to keep plugging away, keep chipping away at trying to get wins, and it's going to be a difficult game today, but hopefully we can get the 3 points and do just that.
And West Brom were the last team that you didn't beat, obviously under a very different manager now. What are you expecting from them?
A difficult game. We're expecting to be tough, physical team that's right up in your face, compact, and we know they're going to do just that, but at the same time we've got to play our football and try to get these vital 3 points.
Good luck tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Vital 3 points for Manchester City tonight. Raheem Sterling there sharing his thoughts. I think he knows how difficult it is going to be tonight. We can see him warming up just now. But it doesn't matter who he comes up against. It's always feels like he can cause anyone any issues, Andy.
Yeah, we spoke earlier on, didn't we, about the one-on-one situations, and City are keeping the ball and they're moving it with a mindset of trying to create that one-on-one. I said earlier on, I hope they play a back four, West Brom. I hope they don't go to a 5, because I feel that we're always a little bit harder to break opposition down. But I think there's nobody better in the game when he squares you up one-on-one, with the ability to go left and right, and his centre of gravity is so small. It's he's incredibly powerful as well off the mark. So I certainly wouldn't want to mark him, that's for sure.
I bet he's a defender's nightmare right there. Shaun, would you be able to get in and out as quick as he does when you're attacking?
No, I don't think so. Again, Andy's alluded to it, his low sense of gravity to be able to go left, right, and most people know, because he's right-footed, they tend to think, well, okay, I'll send him onto his weaker foot. And what he's worked out and figured out, okay, you send me down the left-hand side on my left foot. I'm going to wait for you to get desperate to put that block in. He cuts it back, and then he ends up on his right foot, finding another pass or a delightful cross or something. So, and not only that, he also comes inside. So when he comes inside, he's able to play 1-2s and be a danger. So, Sterling, his game has matured. He's just become so much finer as a player. I was going to say fine wine for someone that don't drink.
Yeah, I'm sure Gary Neville, he knows your attacking skills and going in and out and putting the ball through his legs. He knows that. One player that definitely splits opinion is Riyad Mahrez. I think that Manchester City fans have seen him absolutely tear defenders to pieces, and then at times get increasingly frustrated, I think the word could be said, Andy, about him. What do you make of Riyad Mahrez?
I think the standards are so high, and it's expected every single game to be right at the top of your game. And I think if anyone ever drops down that a little bit, then people rightly pull them out. Personally, out of all the wide men at the club, he's the least I'd want to face in a one-on-one situation. I know where I could send people, and I know, but he's got, when he's at his best, and when he finds the form that we know he's capable of, he's literally unplayable when he squares you up one-on-one. He has a feint, a step over, which is good. And yes, managers are always saying, show him onto this foot, but you're not sure when he's going to check back the other way. So he's so hard to play against. And yes, we expect the highest standards every single game. And if he drop below that, then, rightly people ask the question.
Shaun, he scores some incredible goals as well, Riyad Mahrez, at times, doesn't he?
Yes, I mean, I love Mahrez as well, because as Andy says, when he's going down that right-hand side, you know he's going to come on his left foot, but you don't know when. Yeah. He does that little step over, and so you buy it. And then when he comes on his left foot, you really go for the bar, you buy the fake or the shot. So the defender really goes to make that block, and then he just chops it on his right foot, and he ends up then buying himself 2 yards of space. When he's on form, he's just unplayable. And again, I think tonight will be important for him, because he's that one that can get that yard. He can get that yard. It'll be very little space, but he can get that yard because he's got that trickery.
Now, we've talked about how how busy the schedule has been over the past few weeks. FA Cup action just gone on Saturday. Manchester City beating Cheltenham 3-1. It was a nervy game, let's just say that, Andy. Being here in the We're Not Really Here studio, Paul Dickoff, Nader Manua and myself were we were full of nerves, but it was one of those fixtures that you just think, when they scored, anything could happen. And in the last 10 minutes, yeah, it did happen.
Yeah, it was a tough night. I was watching it with my son at home, and I know what I had a feeling early on when I saw the way they set up, and we seemed to set up with a back five, and I thought it was going to be a difficult evening, and it went that way. But you know what impressed me most of all was that on a night when it could have got messy, it could have been really uncomfy for Manchester City, for the fans and everybody at the club if they'd lost that game, to see a young man grab the game the way he did with 15 minutes, to show that ability to be able to galvanise everyone around him, to say that no, we can't lose this game. And I believe that he was the key factor in us winning the game, because he stepped up when it was needed and pulled everybody through. Right,
there's a few points I want to talk to you about, Shaun. With this goal right here, okay, Gabriel Jesus, the touch and the finish.
Yes.
What did you make of it?
Stop it. Stop it. It was ridiculous. I mean, he brings that ball down, it's like, it just suction. The touch was brilliant, and at that point, he's just like, yeah, smash it. Really pleased for him. We see here Gundogan gets involved in so much stuff and goes under the radar. But I see you, Gundogan. I see your quality. I know what you're about. These things don't miss. I mean, it's just quality.
Cancelo there as well. I didn't count how many step overs it was, but cutting onions, right? That's what you'd say.
Sauteed onions. This man's a fullback, and he'd be dicing up players like the sauteed onions. You're like, how you like your onions? Finally, chap, this guy, I love him in the final third, because again, he's running at players and he looks just like a winger. You don't think, nah, he's not gonna. I actually think 8 times out of 10. He'll get across his player. This is how effective he is as a fullback.
Andy, what you said there was how Phil Foden grabbed the game. That was his 50th start for Manchester City, 99th appearance. He's only 20 years old. Yeah. The future is so bright.
It certainly is. I took to social media after the game, and I said that I stuck my neck out there and said, we have got something unique here. If you look at his pathway, to being the player of the tournament in the World Under-17s, World Cup Under-17s, to be standing out like he did, and then develop and carry on, because people talk about bringing young players through. I think it's so difficult for the very top teams, because the expectations every single game are to win. Now, if you're halfway down the table, you might be able to be losing a game and bring somebody on 65, bed them in and give them a chance. It's so difficult to break into this team, because at the end of the day, you're pulling out somebody who you've brought into the club, who maybe you regard as one of your key players, and you're putting a youngster in. For him to come in and stay in like he has, I think we've got something really, really special here. And long may it be as long as it can at City.
I think as well with Pep Guardiola, he's not just going to bring somebody in for the sake of it because he's from Stockport and everyone loves him. They've got to be good enough as well. And Shaun, what we're seeing with Phil Foden is he's definitely good enough.
Yes, and you took the words right out of my mouth, because exactly, Pep was not going to bring Foden in just because he's local. I was always saying that, when Pep was looking at Foden, it wasn't a case of, can you get in and maintain what we've got, but can you come in and actually raise the bar? And I think with Foden, I'm not saying he's raised the bar beyond what David Silva's doing, but I think this is Pep's thinking. Why bring somebody in to go, well, just to do the same job as a youngster? No, I want you to challenge it and take it to another level. And he has that potential. And one thing I knew was he was somebody that sat next to David Silva. If you're sat next to David Silva, you are sponging up all that knowledge, how he prepares for a game, how he deals with perhaps having an average game and having great games and staying just keeping his attitude right. This guy, we're going to see a lot from him. We really are.
I think we are, and we can have a look back as well at some of his finest moments. The Stockport Iniesta, Phil Foden. Here's his time at Manchester City.
Silva got across to Bruyne, picked up the pieces. Foden!
Foden's in, and Foden scores! Phil Foden has got a goal and an assist in 20 minutes.
The cross is a good one, and Phil Foden, he's been City's best player by an absolute mile this afternoon. He really has.
Foden slipping inside, and yeah, he's done it again. Found the 1 inch, I think, of the net which was available. Phil Foden again strikes for Manchester City.
Oh yeah, I'm loving it, There's no better feeling than scoring. I just want to keep scoring because that's what I enjoy.
He's inside Arsenal territory, and he looks for the return, and he's in the left wing position, and he's played a good ball, and City are 3-1 up. Brilliant finish from Phil Foden.
Everyone struggled against him the last years. I'm pretty sure he's going to be selected with me.
I mean, perfect words at the end of that one. Just seeing the finishes, just seeing the impact he brings to the football pitch. It's not just youthful energy and enthusiasm. He has the ability. Well, does he have the ability to change games?
Well, he's certainly shown that. The last game at home here, I think he was at Brighton that he broke the deadlock, and the game was drifting, and then all of a sudden he pops up and produces with his right foot, the finish again, changed the direction of the game. And we're very quick, we're all passionate about our own players, especially when the youngsters are coming through, and, we're all talking about being the next whoever. But I think he's gone past that now. I really do. For us to say he's got this, he's doing it, he's delivering every single week, he's producing, he's stepped into the England fold and doesn't look out of place. So, for potential, I think we're past that. I think now he's developing into, for me, does he go on now and become one of the great footballers for this football club? Because the qualities are there.
They definitely are. I want to talk about England because Gareth Southgate, he's got difficult decisions ahead of the Euros because you've got Phil Foden, you've got James Maddison, you've got Jack Grealish, Mason Mount as well. There's plenty of names that are being thrown around all together. Has Phil Foden got what it takes?
I mean, he certainly does. And what a headache that is for him, for the England manager. Grealish is doing really well. Phil Foden is playing at the highest level with the biggest team, with the best players, with a different expectation and a different pressure. Grealish has a little bit of freedom from the point that he's a local boy, similar to Foden. But again, the expectation isn't that you win the league, that you stay on the top and be dominant. And I think that's something that Phil Foden that comes with Phil Foden's package, rather than Grealish is, let me enjoy. If we play bad, if he has an average game, people ain't going to criticize Grealish too much. So for me, I have Foden. I have Foden just above because he affects games for me. He really does. He scores goals and he creates goals, and that's where I'll probably be biased because I see the quality every week.
Definitely. One thing you were mentioning, Andy, was his physique, and actually you're excited to see what the future holds because when he does grow a little bit, like you compared him to Iniesta or also Messi, when they grew, that they're small players in terms of height, but when they grow out a little bit, they get a bit stronger. What does that add to the game?
Yeah, obviously I want to be respectful, but there's times he still looks like a boy in his frame. When the thighs get stronger, the upper body gets stronger, and that's development when you become a man, 22, 23, 24. You do see a difference in the appearance of players and the ability then to push people off. And we've seen that already this season. A couple of times he's gone into wide areas and he's pushed people out of the way. And the ability to, in tight areas, is not just the skill, it's the ability to get across people and step and then break at pace. He's shown it already, but I think when those qualities come, and again, I think physically, I think his development, I still think there's a lot of growth there. And when we start to see that, I believe he'll go again because he's shown the pace. Some of the stats last year that came through, he was one of the quickest players in the league over one stat that I saw. So where does he go next when he gets physically stronger?
I must have missed 23, 24 when everyone else's muscles were growing. My thighs definitely weren't growing right there, so I must have missed out on that one. Hopefully Phil Foden can definitely do that in the next few years. Right, let's move on and talk about some of the amazing work that's been happening in the communities. Yes, the City Group and our fans have been trying to support City fans and staff and partners from all over the world, and they've been generously donating and fundraising to help our communities get back on their feet as part of Citizens Giving. Now, together we've raised £580,000. Yes, £580,000 for recovery projects in Manchester and also around the world as well. Now, this is already making a difference to the lives of families in need, and our aim is to increase that to £1 million. Yes, that is our target by the end of the season. And the City Football Group are matching all donations pound for pound. So let's have a look at the work they're doing.
Today, we can look forward and make a positive difference.
Yes, you can get involved and you can donate just there. Moving on, we've talked all about the Stockport Iniesta. We've talked about Raheem Sterling. One man that's not in the fold currently is out injured is Kevin De Bruyne. Now, off the back of the announcement about City Skins being in the game Fortnite, we've got another announcement about EA Sports FIFA. Yes, Kevin De Bruyne made the team of the year. Now, 3 other City players were in the final running, but only Kevin made it through to the final 11. And he's done all that. We know the incredible stuff he's done in the previous season, so it's only right that he gets all the plaudits. Let's have a look.
I'll make team of the year. Yoo-hoo!
Kevin De Bruyne is in my team of the year because he's the best midfielder.
He's the best player in the Premier League. He makes passes nobody else can play.
Quite simply, the best midfielder in the world, Wnrh.
I mean, we could wax lyrical about Kevin De Bruyne all day long. We do like to do it. It's going to be a huge miss, him possibly being out. I think it's 10 games, possibly. We're going to miss a lot. What does he bring to the side, Shaun?
Well, he brings everything. I mean, you want a player to bring hard work. So when you're out of possession, to be grafted and working for your team. He brings that creativity side. He brings leadership. Leadership. I mean, this man knows about leadership, but leadership isn't just about talking and galvanizing your team. Leadership is sometimes just doing and showing. This is what De Bruyne does week after week. He just goes and shows, creates chances, scores goals. I mean, how long do you want me to go on? Because I could talk about De Bruyne. I could talk about him. The guy is absolutely brilliant. And he's such a humble guy. I've had conversations with him and I'm sitting there like, this is De Bruyne. But this guy's just so humble. He's like more interested in you. And I'm like, no, I want to talk about that pass you made. That pass where you just split the defense. The guy is truly amazing, and will be missed for those games. But Pep is that sort of manager that figures it out somehow, some way, jigs around the puzzle, and it works. But yeah, Kevin will be a miss.
His actions on the pitch, he does lead by example. How important is that in a team, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything I can say really about De Bruyne that's not already been said. I believe he's the best in the world in the position he's in. His qualities. I see it as I see it as an opportunity for the other players. Now, make no mistake, there's egos in changing rooms. Now, every player is going to know how Kevin De Bruyne in that team. They're going to know how he's regarded. Now, it's a challenge for them. They'll be thinking to themselves, well, Kev's out for 4 to 6 weeks or whatever. Does that mean that no, I'm going to step up now. And I'm going to show that, yes, we're going to miss him, but he's not the be-all and end-all to our squad. There's good players in the Silva, Gundogan. People are going to step up now and take that opportunity to show that, we can keep winning games of football.
And that's something that's so exciting, Shaun, about this team is the strength in depth of them, the ability that when one player is out, when 2 players are out, however many are missing, they still show up and they still get the business done.
Still get the business done. I mean, what Andy just said there is total leadership, what he just said. And that's the same thing I sort of thought as well. If there was a key player that was out, it was like, okay, we could still win this game. That player is going to be missed. If Andy was out and I think, we're kind of weak in defense, well, we could still possibly win this game without Andy. And I'm sure Andy thought the same when I was in the team and others. And this is what these players you'll see. These players here would know. De Bruyne is out of the squad, but they'll look around and go, I got Rodri here. I got Gundogan. I got Foden. I got Mahrez. I got Sterling. I'm starting to do a bit of a dance now. It's just quality. And they'll look around and go, De Bruyne is quality, but we can win and continue winning without Kevin De Bruyne.
Now we can see the players training at the Hawthorns right there. Huge game this evening, taking on West Brom. And we'll talk about the manager in a few moments, but we'll go through their starting 11 right now. They've got Johnston, Furlong, Ajayi, O'Shea, Gibbs, Snodgrass, Sawyers, Livermore as captain, Grant, Pereira and Robinson. Their subs include Button, Bartley, Ivanovic, Peltier, Townsend, Gallagher, Phillips, Edwards and Robson, Carnu. They've got the ability, especially attacking, Pereira, Callum Robinson as well, to cause some damage, Andy.
Yeah, they are dangerous. Obviously, they're going to spend most of the time defending. The City's back three, back four, whatever it is, will be on the halfway line. The space will be behind. Have we got the quality to deal with that? Yeah, we've got the pace to deal with whatever threat they're going to come up with. I hope Johnston doesn't have the game he had at our place.
Yeah.
He was absolutely incredible. It was a one-man show. They walked out, they came away with a point, and it was down to him. He'll have to play a huge part again tonight. But I think it's going to be very, very sporadic in the moments they have attacking play. It's going to be. What we mustn't do is give cheap free kicks away. They'll put the ball down and they will launch it into our box and they'll keep it alive, and that's where they'll get their opportunities from. Outside of that, I think it's going to be a long night for them defending and having to stay switched on. But they would have worked really hard, in the last couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if Sam doesn't try something different. I watched the Liverpool game and they drew 1-1, and Sam's very, very intelligent. He knows the game. He'll know he can't keep doing that. He can't keep getting away with the 10 chances Liverpool had. So I still think that, looking at it, he's been out of the game for a few years. I still think he'll be thinking, I've got to do something slightly different, because we can't keep getting run over 75, 80% possession and expect to get something from a game.
Now, Pep Guardiola has called him a genius, and he also says it's not easy to take over a team during the season, but against Wolves, Liverpool, other clubs, he's got good results. Sam Allardyce is a genius. You'll know all about that, Andy. You've played under him, and you were captain. So what was that relationship like with Big Sam?
Well, it was Sam's first job at Blackpool. And what Sam has now, his identity then was what it is still now. He was very big on his sports science, nutrition. We had things that we were doing way ahead of the time. I just left Blackburn, where I was with Dalglish, when they went on to win the following season, win the Premier League title. Sam was ahead of them in stuff that we were doing and stats and monitoring games, and he's followed that path through his career. Obviously, great knowledge of the game. Knows probably the identity's a bit unfair, that he's somebody that comes in, and puts the fires out and tries to keep people in leagues. I think that's slightly unfair, but he's certainly good at it, and he knows how to bring a group together. He knows how to suffocate games, make it difficult, and get the best out of the players. My concern was when he first went in there was that West Brom at their very best, he gets the best out of them. They're still one of the bottom 3 teams in the league. It's beginning to show, but that they've got a couple of results. But I still think squad-wise, I think they're one of the weakest squads in the league.
We'll see what happens this evening. Right, let's shift the attention back to Manchester City, and in particular Manchester City fans. Now, they never cease to amaze me because they literally cover all 4 corners of the globe, all right? Wherever it is, you will find a Manchester City fan not too far away in sky blue colours. And we can see right now our Northern Greece Supporters Club, as they've got the recognition I think they deserve.
Hello there, this is Simon Croft here from Northern Greece Supporters Club, and this is
Sophia
and
Georgie.
Okay, I'm from Manchester with Greek heritage and come from a long line of Blues dating back to before the war. I've been a supporter for over 40 years, and I had a season ticket at both Main Road and the Etihad. On moving to Greece, I met a City fan called Kostas Theodoridis who'd studied in Manchester, and we both agreed that we'd like to build a bigger presence here in the north of Greece, which is what we did by setting up the Supporters Club in 2014. Now, we usually meet up at a sports cafe called Meli Melo, which is a nice environment, and we pride ourselves on having a family-oriented supporters club here. I actually used to serve Natalie Pike and Dad back in the day, back in the North Stand, so hello to both of you two. And let's hope that we can have a successful season and a great new year. Come on, City. Now back to the studio.
Cheers, Simon. Nice throw back to us right there. It's incredible that the supporters plaque has already been sent to you. It means I've not got to pay the bill right there through the Royal Mail. Now, another time we've seen all Manchester City fans across the globe come together was the passing of Manchester City legend Colin Bell. And earlier today, a service was held for the passing of the legend that is Colin Bell. And the procession went past the Etihad and the stand named after him. And our thoughts are with his family, friends, and the thousands of fans who have paid their respect since the passing of a true club legend who symbolised everything great about this club right here. And once again, our thoughts are with the family and friends and thousands of Manchester City fans across the globe who have paid their respects to the legend that is Colin Bell. Shaun, legend, the word gets thrown around, but we've talked about it a lot recently. Colin Bell, he is a Manchester City legend.
Yes, he is. And, you know, it's sad, it's a sad day. You know, and I've had the real opportunity to have long conversations, but everything was short. But again, he was... For me, he was interested in myself, and as I come to know, the things he had won and what he achieved, it amazed me that he was more interested in my journey. And I'm thinking, I ain't win anything. So my time and experience with him was absolutely brilliant. The fact that he could put that aside and the great achievements that he had won.
And I think we've seen the reaction to it from Manchester City fans all over, just how much he does mean to us. So once again, our respects to the family and friends after that horrible passing of club legend Colin Bell right there. Now let's move on back to Manchester City taking on West Brom this evening. It's Premier League action. City have got the chance to go back to the top of the table, let's say, because they've not been there this season, which is a weird position and a weird thing to say as a Manchester City fan coming into January, the fact that we've not topped the table yet, Andy.
No, and again, it's been a strange season in many ways. What the game last week against Villa, it was a struggle. It was a hard game to try and, I think the fans, were appreciating what part they play in games of football. And I just think the reaction last week after that result, and then you watch the game the following night, the present champions who then, went and dropped points against Burnley. The season's very different. So I think it's going to be a bit of nip and tuck along the way. I think there'll be a few more results along that, the runs that Liverpool and Manchester City have had over the last couple of seasons, where you've had these incredible runs, where it's been one defeat in whatever amount of games. But the runs have been, I don't think it'll be like this through the season. I still think there'll be the odd draws in there. And, but it's great to be sat there at this moment in time. Fantastic. You always want to go, and again, as Shaun spoke about earlier on, them players will be used to that, and they'll know the pressure that they can stick on other people now. Different when you actually have to go and win the game, when they're on top to get back above us. Whereas, getting there tonight, and then it puts pressure on other teams, and we've shown that we can deal with the pressure.
One man I want to talk about is João Cancelo. I know we've talked about dicing onions, dicing players, cutting them up. But actually, when you think about it, when he arrived at the club, Kyle Walker was ahead of him in that right-back spot. He's made the left-back spot his at times as well. But he's been so consistent, Shaun, at times as well. But it must be so difficult when you've got a player like Kyle Walker in front of you, but he's stuck at it.
I don't know how he comes to the conclusion, but Pep knows best. Cancelo, Walker, tough decisions, but Cancelo, again, it's not only he started off slow, but he's really coming to form in terms of his performances now. Whether he plays left back, right back, when he pushes in, making, teaming up with Rodri, or whether it's Fernandinho to make that block, if you like, as a holding midfielder when City's in possession. The intelligence, the creativity when it's in the final third. And because the way City play, you don't often see players go cross him. You know, you normally see him on the front foot and him going on the right-hand side or left-hand side and doing step-overs and cutting up players. So, again, another player that's just been consistent. And he understands. And he understands the importance of tonight. And I'm sure he'll look to put in another solid, consistent performance.
Yeah, when we're looking at him, Andy, what have you made of it? Because squad rotation, we know it happens in this Manchester City team, but it must be difficult. You mentioned before there's egos in the dressing room. Everyone wants to be playing, but it's not always the case.
No, I think, listen, there's different qualities, and you always try to be respectful when you talk about players. And I think when we dominate possession and we get into them final moments, he's shown over the last month that he has the ability to step past a player, step over, find a different kind of pass to what Kyle will be able to give in that moment. I think at the very top end games, I think in Europe and the latter stages, I think Kyle Walker will bring a different quality to them games because we're going to be defending slightly more than what we are. But when we're dominating possession, we almost have from a right back, we have another, the way Pep does it, we have another attacking sort of midfielder in them final moments that is able to step past the player, be able to do something that that Kyle Walker doesn't give you in them final moments. You know, and like I say, I'm always respectful because I understand what players bring to the team in different areas. Cancelo has gone from a defending minded player. He's evolved into something now that, you know, again, is it just Pep that has the ability to get players to see these things? You know, we're now looking at him and we're now talking about him as being, when he's facing play, I think one of our most exciting players.
Right, we want to hear from you at home, all right? Make sure you do use the hashtag WNRH, all right? Share your thoughts, share your setups, how you're watching the game this evening. We want to see it all. And one other thing that you can get involved in is guess the mystery blue, all right? Now, we've made it much more difficult from the weekend. Naden thought he had it. He was convinced he had it, but he wasn't too sure. So if you can guess who you think that is right there, there's no clues. Then make sure you tweet your guess using WNRH right there, okay? Make sure you do get in touch with us. Hashtag WNRH. I think I've got it, all right? But I want to hear from you guys at home right there. We have got a huge game tonight. I'm so looking forward to it with Manchester City taking on West Brom. We will have all the action. We'll be talking about it at half-time, full-time as well, so make sure you do join us. But I think it's kind of time we talk about predictions, my favourite part of the show, especially when Shaun is here, because we've got a bit of a rivalry going on between us two right here. So, Shaun, I'm not going to come to you first. Andy, I'm going to come to you, all right? I'm not going to let you copy us, all right? What are you going for tonight?
I'm going to go for 3-0.
Okay.
He's just made that up on the spot.
No, I don't. Sure. Listen, I think City will concede a goal, but they'll win the game. Both teams will score. City win 3-1.
Okay, 3-1.
I'm going to stand up for the defenders right now. I'm standing up for the defenders. We're keeping a clean sheet tonight. I like your prediction, though.
Okay. So what are you going for, Shaun?
I'm going for 3-0.
3-0. Okay. I'm going to top that. I'm going to say 4-0 against Big Sam's West Brom. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. Make sure you do tweet us your predictions as well, all right? Use that hashtag WNRH. Before we finish, kick off in about 8 minutes' time, all right? I do want to talk about the fact that Manchester City are still in 4 competitions, Shaun. I don't think there's any other team in the UK that are, because Tottenham are in the Champions League. So those 4 competitions, the 4 big ones, Champions League, Premier League, League Cup final, and the FA Cup as well, it's massive.
Yes, and the reason is now we understand the rotation and the importance of rotation. I mean, when we played, we wanted to play 60 games a season. And, you know, if we're fit, we want to play. But we now understand that if you want to win 4 trophies, win 3 trophies, you've got to have this rotation. I actually done a study of looking at City in the past seasons, and the players typically played around 33 to 35 games. And that's still a lot of games. You know, that's essentially like a steal a full season if, you know, you obviously have around 38 league games. So players are still getting enough games, and as Andy said earlier, if you're doing the flying over to Europe, etc., all of this in terms of your mental can drop. So the rotation is important. So the players come in, they're fresh, they go at it. And tonight you talked about 10 players coming in. So Pep knows.
Pep knows best right there. At Manchester City, they are taking on West Brom. Big Sam's West Brom, who are fighting for survival. But Manchester City could go to the top of the table if they do manage to get a win tonight for the first time this season. Make sure that you do stick with us, all right? Make sure that you do stay with us for full match commentary with Alistair Mann. We will be back at half-time. So make sure you come back to hear our thoughts, but you can give us your thoughts by using the hashtag WNRH. We will be back at half-time, but for now, we will see what Manchester City can do against West Brom.